right here, the motivational guru, the man of many books, author, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, Frederick Douglass, actor, because he looked just like Frederick Douglass, Mr. Donald L. Dowridge Jr. Brother, introduce yourself. Anything I may have missed, continue on to pick up where I may miss and left off at. Brother, thank you for joining the In Pursuit of Purpose podcast show.
My brother, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for inviting me to be your guest today. I hold you in high esteem. As we talked yesterday or day before yesterday, we were giving each other kudos, mad kudos and whatnot, or should I say glad kudos, and when you asked me to be your guest, and I'm truly honored and humbled to have this platform to speak to you. Now, I do know you as Marques, but I want to be out of straight respect. Pronounce your name again.
Obeng.
Obeng. All right, I want to give that respect. All right.
That's that spirit. That's the name the ancestors came and gave me when I made a spiritual transition into the purpose, the calling that I was called. The purpose I was put here for. And when you go into a transformation or transition, it comes with a whole new. It's a rebirth.
There you go. Well, I want to respect you, even though I'm old enough to be, like you say, the OG. But I want to respect you in your path. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's one thing to, if I can go back and draw up, as I look over here at this big print that I have of Muhammad Ali. One reason he was really mad at Floyd Patterson, because Floyd Patterson, a black man, refused to call him Muhammad Ali. He continued to call him Cassius Clay. And the more he called him Cassius, the more Ali was hitting him in that nose, smashing the rabbit. So, Obeng, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so I want to give you that respect, my brother.
Yes,
because and I also respect the path that you're walking on, your initiative, and the if I will, the walk that you are walking. You're a deep dude, you're a deep brother, and it's like every time you come out of your mouth, they say the tongue, is the most evil instrument on our bodies. But every time you come out of your tongue, brother, and you spitting some serious bars that would take people, if they just listen, they'll go straight to the stars. Don't have me get started up in here.
No, don't do that yet, man. We got to open up the show first, man.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
But talk to me about right now, man. You wrote some books. You speak everywhere. You've been everywhere. You talk to a lot of people over your career, and I've witnessed you give great talks and upliftment and encouragement in times of need. And people right now are looking for ways to stay motivated. Talking to the motivational guru himself right now, what is the best practice that people can have right now, knowing that you may have been through many things yourself? What is it that you do? And what is it have you done to stay motivated?
Well, my brother Obeng, again, thank you. Previously, I was doing a live Facebook, and I was talking about the 11 steps to excellence. And when you mentioned the books, well, here's I'm showing The Power of Being a Winner, which was my 13th book, and here's my recent one that just came out last year, November, Motivational Moments. Inside of inside of The Power of Being a Winner is, and it can be found, the 11 steps to excellence. One thing I know is that, in this crucial time that we are living in, what I would like to put out to the public, especially those that are really, feeling this, and really going through strife, if you will, is that it's the 11 steps, and number one being your faith. You got to have that faith, and that faith must be in place. You got to believe in somebody, greater than yourself. a lot of times, you know, we fail because we figure that we are the supreme being. In reality, you know what I mean, it's greater than us, and we have to believe in someone better. I mean, not better, but greater than us, that have paved the work, paved the road, opened the doors, and prepared for this time that we are in. Because one thing for sure, my brother, like I said, you know, if you don't know where you come from, how you gonna go forth? If you go forth, you're going right over the cliff. Because you don't know, and the first thing you're falling on is I give up. Well, you know, if you got that faith, then you don't have to give up. If anything, matter of fact, tomorrow is the first of the month. So if you're going to give up anything, you give up that mortgage payment. You give up that rent payment. You see what I'm saying? You give up, you know, that currency to bring food into the house. But in reference to giving up on your self-esteem, giving up on your abilities, giving up on your strength, giving up on your belief, you see what I'm saying? Giving up on being optimistic. When you give up those, you might as well do what was told to me years ago. Go to Home Depot. Somebody's going to be mad at me. But if you're going to give up, go to Home Depot. Go out to your nearest, purchase you a shovel. Go to the nearest cemetery and dig a 6 feet hole. Jump in it. But besides that, you see what I'm saying? This is not the time to give up and throw in the towel. This is the time that we have to rely on. And the word that I want to bring out, which is number 6 on the list, is to endure. We have to endure these times. Because these times are only going to make us stronger. You feel me? You got to look at, since you talk about the ancestors, we have to look at those who went through worse than this. One thing I will say, that we are living in a lapse of luxury right now. I don't care how poor you might think you are. You're living in a lapse of luxury right now, because you got to understand that when you look back, there are people that did not have what we have. There were people who were whipped at their every turn. There were people who were raped at their every turn. You feel me? There were people who were sold on the open market at every turn. So somebody might be listening and say, well, why is he going back there? Well, I'm going back there because that right there gives you the strength to move forth through these hard times that they say we're going through. You feel me? So
I feel you.
It ain't about, let me say this, you know, because I know you want to ask the next question, but it ain't about, you know, one thing I learned about this life, it ain't about the attitude. It's about how high can you raise your altitude. Because altitude will allow you to go through the roller coaster of life. And right now, where we are right now, we're not going up the hill. We're down in the valley right now.
Yeah, we are.
We're in the valley.
You know, you're definitely right about that. You said, because the valley is where it's supposed to be dark and it's supposed to be depressive. And you know, a lot of people are going through a lot of anxiety down here.
Yes, sir.
They don't, there's a saying, I forget who said it. It may have been, I think, Zig Ziglar or something, who said that if you can't get to the top, you can't see how, if you're not at the top, you're not able to see how far you can go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, basically, when you're down in the valley, you think that that's it. But once you get to the top, you see really that is more to go.
It's more to go.
So you're not really content. And you're like, wow, I didn't really accomplish much, but you're not content. You're at the top, but you're not content. And so that's what people should have been practicing during these times. They shouldn't have been content. You talked about standing on the backs of grace, and I wrote a poem with Muhammad Ali's name in it. And I wrote a poem that talked about the ancestors and standing on the backs of greats like Muhammad Ali, those who came before, those who stared down the faces of hate, those who did it, with no restitution, giving up everything that they had, and in honor of the revolution. That was a part of my poem. And so Muhammad Ali, people like him, we have to stand on those front lines, on the backs of those great people. You being one yourself, you stand on the name and on the honorarium of a great legend, an abolitionist, Frederick Douglass. Talk to us about what do you get when you step into the mindset of a Frederick Douglass. What comes up? What inspires you to live out and finish his life story? Where is that inspiration coming from, and why do you do that?
Well, if I can, this year marks 11 years, and prior to us falling into this COVID-19 issue, if you will, today is what, Tuesday? Well, believe it or not,
Yeah.
Sunday that just passed, I was supposed to be on a flight going on tour, four-state tour. All right. Today was supposed to have been my first stop. Today would have been my first stop in Baltimore. I started doing Frederick Douglass in 2009. All right, and as elementary as it is, just getting up out of my bed that morning, standing in front of the mirror, brushing my teeth, I hear Frederick Douglass 3 times. I look around, and at the time I was married, I look around and see a wifey talking to me. Nobody's there. So right then, I took it. It was a signal coming down from God. Young brother, I didn't argue. I didn't question, because a lot of times when we question ourselves right out of the quest that we were, of our purpose. Once I got myself together, I went on down to, the Performing Arts, the Strauss Performing Arts Center, and I was fortunate enough, blessed enough, that they didn't charge me for the Tico Center there. They donated. They didn't know who I was, but they donated. For 3 years, I was donated. They gave me the Tico Center. And as I grew, here I am 11 years later, from that moment to this moment, Frederick Douglass, in reading and portraying him and carrying out who he was as a man, a black man. You feel me? This man came from slavery. He endured the whippings and he saw the beatings. This man had to take his hard-earned money and give it to his master. And in return, the master would give him a penny. This man who had to endure, shortages of meals. This man had to sleep in potato sacks in the midst of the winter, seeing his aunt get whipped tremendously. But yet and still, and not only that, but when he turned 15 years old or 16 years old, being sent to the slave breaker, Master Corvée, and this man being whipped every day for 6 straight months. He endured the pain that within that 6 months, he found the strength to fight back against what could have been the end of his life, but it was the beginning of his life at 16 years old, telling his master that you're not whipping me anymore. Even though he was still in slavery, for another 2 years, he was what? He was free in form, but he was still a slave in fact, but he was a free slave. You see what I'm saying? So here we are in this time. We got to understand that this thing that I'm pointing at, inside this skull that I'm hitting on, there's a brain in there. And one of these steps, as a matter of fact, number 5 is education. We got to be open to the fact that, we educate ourselves so that we can be prepared to endure issues like this. Frederick Douglass, man, you're right. I can switch from being Donald Dowridge to Frederick Douglass. This brother is hanging on a lot of my walls here in my house. You see what I'm saying? I have great respect for Mr. Douglass, because Mr. Douglass has implied in my life that, yes, I can go through the storm and I can come out. Now, understand, when we go through a storm and we come out on the other end, you got to understand that we're going to be scathed as we go through that storm. Meaning that we're going to have to sustain injury. We're going to have to sustain letdowns. We're going to have to sustain through faults. We're going to have to sustain through the setbacks that come through, that endurance. You see what I'm saying? To get to the other side. And brother, like Mr. T would say, I pity the fool that go through the endurance and then come out the other side still like they were when they first went through the pain.
Right.
What did you learn?
Right.
What did you learn? What did you conquer? What did you benefit? If everything you went through and you still haven't learned how to what? To be that person you're supposed to be in this thing called life. And that sums up, I know you're going to say, but that sums up when you're laying in front of the church and the pastor has to lie to make you look good. And I don't know if you've ever been to one of those funerals.
That's kind of deep, man, you know what I'm saying? Because on some real stuff, though, you're hitting the nail on the head when it talks about what we have to endure. You know, one of the things I want to talk about is how we as black people, find it, very, very, very hard to deal with this. And I'm talking about as a collective. You know, there are so many things that we went through, so many things that we've been through that's in our blood, that came down our bloodline, in our DNA. And so as black people go through COVID-19, what's the encouragement that you give them? And I'm talking to black people right now because, we wasn't given the advantages of our counterpart, white people. There's, some people that don't have jobs. Black people are losing jobs.
Yes.
And we didn't have this setup as our white counterparts did.
Right.
And they got the luxury of sitting still, being able to take a month or two off.
Right.
But with black people looking for the encouragement in these times, how did the white people get to set themselves up? My mindset tells me that they had the entrepreneur mindset. They had the mindset of saying, I'm going into business for myself, and I'm going to make sure that me and mine are taken care of. But times like these, what do you say to people that's so hungry to get back to work? Because to me, that's I got to say it like this, that's a slave mindset. To be ready to go back to work and go and looking at what you have right here, right now, looking at these times, look at how they could just take your job from you. You see, look at how they could just take that from you. And so there's some people out there ready to get back on that slave ship. Not the graveyard ship, but the slave yard ship. Mm-hmm. They're ready to go back and work and slave themselves. What's the word that you can give people to help them see that light, to say, you know what, don't go that route. Do this. Do something else. Well,
you know what? On page 14, I wrote, standing strong, a must. Being soft will lead to disgusting results. All right? Mm-hmm. It's a thin line. And I must say that, allow me to go back when it was put in me to leave my job when I was 39, all right? I can't tell you how many people came up to me and called me a fool, said I was crazy, I'm out of my mind, why am I doing it? Mm-hmm. Well, the thing of it is, and I know me, I am a poor, P-O-O-R, poor example of a human being of working for somebody else. Because me clocking into somebody else's job, making them rich, it just ain't gonna work. I'll get fired on the first day. You see what I'm saying? So I understand, like Les Brown says, the worst thing you can do is go to work for somebody else and spend a whole 8 hours working for somebody else and you're dissatisfied. Spending the whole 8 hours and you come home at the end of the day, you're tired, you're worn out, you know what I mean? And you got to do what? You got to take care of your family and everything. You see what I'm saying? But it's one thing to be sitting on that job and saying how much you hate the job, but you're not doing anything to remove yourself to be able to be that entrepreneur or to create that job. You see what I'm saying? So
right.
Now that we have this downtime, one who is dissatisfied at working for somebody else, the question should be, all right, is that, wow, I got skills. The job I worked for, they gave me skills. How can I turn that skill into a benefit for me? Instead of me being, punching in, how can I punch in for me? How can I punch in for my family? How can I punch in for my endurance? I have a lot of people who tell me, they say, Don, I can't remember who it was, but just recently, they walked away from their job. Just on the tip of this starting to happen. They walked away from their job, and what they said is, you know what, it feels like the whole world has just been lifted off my shoulders. Because now I can go out and I can do what I desire, which is fantastic. But when you talk about, like you talked about, those small black businesses that are going through this pain right now, you're right. See, I said it earlier, when America coughs, we die. Because of the fact that 9 times out of 10, if you're a small business owner in this environment right now and you're black, you're right. A lot of those small businesses, they're going to sink, unfortunately. Why are they going to sink? One might say, well, I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Dowridge, because guess what? They just signed the stimulus package. Well, the stimulus package won't be here for you. You won't be able to touch it for another 3-4 weeks. What are you going to do in the meantime? All that inventory that you might have. Now, I was looking at something on TV where they were saying that, what this lady was doing, white lady, what she was doing, she's signing out greeting cards. She has a greeting card company, and she's signing, and what she's doing, she's sending out these greeting cards on her dime. How many of us can afford to send out greeting cards? If you have a greeting card company, how many of us can afford to sit back during this time and say, you know what, I'm good. Let me send out 10,000 greeting cards on my dime. It ain't going to happen. Not on us. And you're right, what you said earlier. All right? A lot of white families, what they do, they educate their children from the what? From the womb.
From the womb.
From the womb, they're preparing their children for entrepreneurship. If not entrepreneurship, they're preparing them on how to what? Save. How to have a bank account. How to know about business. You see what I'm saying? And brother, I'm not stepping on our toes, but I am going to say this. I come straight from the vine. At my young years, all right, you give me a nickel, 2 days later, I'm broke.
Yeah.
Because I did not have that training. I did not have that wherewithal to be able to know the value of a dollar. I did not know the value of what it takes to keep that dollar in the neighborhood. More so than taking that dollar and going into another neighborhood and spending it. Perfect example, Thanksgiving. I'm just going to be real with you, all right? Thanksgiving, because it was coming up on my birthday. It might have been Thanksgiving or Christmas. But anyway, I'm in the liquor store. This is a foreigner's liquor store. So I asked the guy behind the counter, come to find out he's the owner. I said, are you shutting down for Thanksgiving? Shutting down? No, we're not shut. We don't shut down. We open Thanksgiving because we must make money for our family. They're not talking about their family that's living here. They're talking about their family that's living overseas, across the water. Back in their country. You see what I'm saying? So they're taking our dollars and taking it back overseas to make sure their children graduate, to make sure their children and family have food on their table. But we are denying ourselves the opportunity to take our dollars and serve that dollar within our neighborhood so that our people can live. You see what I'm saying? So first and foremost, if you got a business, I'm saying, bruh, I ain't supporting you, man. Look at your prices. I'm not supporting you because, you ain't justice. But we got to understand, for each one of us black folks out here starting a business, we're starting that business either because A, we understand our purpose, B, we got a supply and there's a demand, C, we have the ability to be able to work with the general public. I'll leave it at A, B, C. All right? But
that's deep. That's deep.
yeah, but we have to have, we as a people have to have the know-how to believe in us, to support us. You see what I'm saying? We're quick to turn our back on us and go support them, and them is just standing back and saying, here they come. That's just like if you driving a Mercedes and your Mercedes break down, all right, and you go to a corner shop, all right. Guess what they saying? Here come big money. Because all they looking at, you know what they looking at? They looking at the emblem on their car. Well, with us, when they stand there, they see us coming, they don't see us as people, they see us as dollar signs.
Yeah.
And the thing that really kills me is when I walk in and they're behind the counter and they say, what's up, my brother? How you doing, bruh? Yo, homie, you know, did you see the game yesterday? I'm like, excuse me? You know, they're perpetrating a fraud, so they are trained to deal with us. Right. Unfortunately, we are not trained to deal with us.
Oh, that was deep. That was deep. I want to ask you then, black people, our people have been subjected to so much, and we're the biggest consumers in America. We are the biggest consumers of America.